Welcome back to The Explainer, where we're taking the hard science of hair health and turning it into an actual evidence-based grocery list. If you've ever found yourself staring into the mirror, kind of wondering what on earth you can do to get thicker, stronger hair, you're absolutely in the right place. Today, we're jumping straight into the data to break down exactly what your body needs.
So could your diet actually be the culprit behind your hair loss? Look, it's super easy to just blame our genetics or our age, and it's true, we can't control those things. But here's what we do know for sure. Hair thinning is very often literally a cry for nutrients. And that means you have total control over the supplies you're sending to your hair follicles every single day.
All right, here's what we're looking at today. We'll cover nutrition and hair loss, the hair's building blocks, protecting your hair follicles, oxygen and scalp health, this really cool thing called the spermidine secret, and finally, your hair healthy plate. To make all this easy to digest, pun intended, we're going to treat your hair follicle like a busy manufacturing factory and explore the specific departments of food you need to keep it running optimally.
Let's start with Part 1, Nutrition and Hair Loss. Let's look closely at the factory floor. If you're running low on vital nutrients, specifically B12, vitamin D, biotin, riboflavin, or iron, that can straight up lead to hair loss. You see, your cellular turnover and your whole follicle growth cycle rely incredibly heavily on these exact vitamins and minerals. If your factory doesn't have these raw materials, it doesn't just slow down, it actually halts production. And that's what causes that noticeable shedding you might be seeing.
Moving on to Part 2, the hair's building blocks.
So what are the physical building blocks here? Well, hair follicles are mostly made of protein, right? If you aren't eating enough of it, you're absolutely going to see a negative impact. You want foods like eggs, which bring a killer combo of protein and biotin. Lean meats pack protein and iron. And don't forget beans. They're incredibly versatile and give you a great hit of plant-based protein and zinc. These are basically non-negotiable if you want to prevent hair loss and physically strengthen those strands.
Now, let's talk about the battle between supplements and real whole food. Marketing teams constantly hype up these extreme biotin pills to boost keratin production, but the science actually tells a different story. Simply eating whole foods like real whole eggs gives your factory all the biotin it realistically needs. Plus, here's a massive detail. Taking super high doses of supplemental biotin can actually interfere with and skew your medical lab tests. No way we want that. Stick to whole foods and you get the perfect balance without the crazy risks.
All right, Part 3, protecting your hair follicles. Every factory needs security, right? Enter our defense against oxidative stress. This happens when free radicals basically overwhelm your body's natural antioxidant defense system. These free radicals are harmful little molecules floating around naturally in our bodies and the environment. And when they take over, they can seriously damage your scalp, reduce your hair follicle counts, and, get this, they're even linked to premature graying. But don't worry, we can easily deploy an antioxidant defense system to neutralize the threat.
How do we build that defense? By loading up on antioxidant-rich foods. We're talking berries, sweet potatoes, avocados, and sweet peppers. These powerhouses are packed with vitamin C and E. They also bring vitamin A to the table, which is a real game changer, because it regulates your sebum production. That's the natural oil that keeps your scalp and your hair perfectly moisturized and healthy.
Check out this number, 456%. A single yellow sweet pepper gives you a staggering 456% of a female's daily vitamin C needs. Why is that such a big deal? Because vitamin C is the absolutely critical ingredient your body uses to produce collagen. That's the protein that literally stops your hair from becoming brittle and snapping off.
Part 4, Oxygen and Scalp Health. So the foundation is set, but our factory desperately needs a reliable supply chain. Let's map out the ultimate delivery network. Oysters provide massive doses of zinc for cellular repair. Spinach comes in with incredible amounts of iron, which helps your red blood cells carry oxygen right to your follicles. And fatty fish, like salmon or mackerel, drop off omega-3 fatty acids. Early studies are actually suggesting those omega-3s might even help increase hair density.
To put the sheer power of whole foods into perspective here, one single medium oyster nearly maxes out your daily zinc requirement at 96%. Compare that to just 14% in a serving of black beans. This is super important because a lack of zinc can trigger a common, but thankfully reversible, form of hair loss called telogen effluvium. Keeping those zinc levels topped up keeps the whole repair cycle moving.
Okay, obviously you're not going to sit around eating oysters all day long. So for quick, convenient little supply drops throughout the afternoon, try snacking on nuts and seeds.
Almonds, sunflower seeds, flax seeds, chia seeds. Tossing a variety of these into your day constantly feeds your scalp with vitamin E, B vitamins, and healthy fatty acids. It's such a low-effort way to keep the factory humming.
Moving on to part 5, the spermidine secret.
Let's step onto the cutting edge of science for a second. Have you ever heard of spermidine? Soybeans are incredibly rich in this specific compound, and the emerging research around how it interacts with the human body, specifically our hair, is honestly fascinating. It's kind of the next big frontier in nutritional science.
Here is the crucial takeaway from the data. A study tracking 100 people found that a spermidine-based nutritional supplement actually keeps the hair follicle locked in its active growth phase, which is called the anagen phase, for a significantly longer time. To put it simply, the longer your follicle hangs out in this active phase, the more time the hair physically has to grow out before it naturally sheds.
Finally, part 6, your hair healthy plate.
At the end of the day, there's no single magic food that's going to make your hair grow overnight. It's like a giant puzzle. Combining these specific proteins, antioxidants, and minerals into a balanced everyday diet is hands down the absolute most effective way to prevent deficiency-driven hair loss. Your dinner plate, that is literally your ultimate supplement.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want you to think about your own biological factory's supply chain. Take a hard look at your current diet, think about the data we just walked through, and ask yourself, what is the one real whole food ingredient you are going to add to your grocery list today? Start right there, fuel your follicles, and see what happens. Thanks for exploring the science with me.